Hey everybody, it is LCID 932 on YouTube. Thank you for joining me. Woo, we are here for Netflix's MindHunter. Give me one moment. Okay. Okay. This is better. Let me know. Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me okay. We had some difficulties a little while ago when I was doing this with on Sunday, going over Married at First Sight. UK, we had a little bit of difficulty. So let me know. Thank you, Ari. Thank you. Hey, Ari, glad to see you here. Rejection is protection. We love that name around here. Thank you also, Sam, for letting me know. Thank you, Rejection is Protection, for letting me know we are clear. Okay. Thank you. So we are here to talk about, okay, this is Reel It In. Okay. Let me kind of reduce myself so y'all could kind of see. This is LCID 932 Reel It In, REEL. And what we do here on Reel It In is we're going to talk about our movies, we're going to talk about a series, or we're going to talk about, give me some suggestion and comments, and I will certainly get it on the list for our Reel It In. Now, let me see if I could bring me back. Okay, there we go. So, yes, it's October. Yes, it's Halloween. But one of my faves is like Criminal Minds. One of my faves is Investigations. And yeah, I know I was behind Holden. Yeah, I was behind Holden. So I loved Criminal Minds when it first came out. It's only 2 seasons. We're going to cover season 1 here. I'm going to drop the link in a few so we could get a conversation going on. Now, in the overlay, you will see the 3 main characters, and I put them in, not order of appearance, but kind of like order of behavioral science unit. So we have Bill Tench. Okay, he started off behavioral investigations. First, let's say what it is. It is the founding of the Behavioral Science Unit in the Federal Bureau of Investigations. That is what MindHunter is. Okay. They are attempting to understand the serial unalivers. So they launch a research project to interview the imprisoned serial unalivers to understand their psychology and hope of applying the knowledge to solve ongoing cases. This first season takes place in 1977 to 1980 in the early days of criminal psychology. Okay. This is criminal profiling. So, in the beginning, okay, I need to watch Criminal Minds Evolution season 3 soon. I have not watched Criminal Minds in a very long time. I kind of got disillusioned with the cast. That's just me. So I stopped watching it a long time. So Bill Tench was going around town all over the country, traveling and smoking all over the place. And he was teaching local police departments about psychology and behavioral science as he knew it. Then comes along Holden Ford. Holden Ford is a young whippersnapper within the agency, within the bureau. And Holden, wants to make a name for himself. Holden Ford, when we meet him, he's an instructor, but he feels like he should be doing more. So they send him to school, and he learns a little bit more from, his eventual girlfriend, a girl he picked up, or she picked him up, if you want to let it be known. She picked him up at the bar. And she was talking to him about psychology and stuff like that. And it kind of, whetted his appetite. Okay. It whetted his appetite. So Holden was kind of given to Bill Tench to kind of like go around the country teaching these police officers. Okay. In the meantime, Tench also knew Dr. Wendy Carr from Boston, or should I say Baston? We have anybody from Massachusetts in the house? Wendy Tench is a professor in Baston, Boston University. She brings the academic side of things. Now, when she comes on board, we learn quite a lot. Okay, so let's cover them. Bill Tench is married. Okay, he has a lovely wife who is a homemaker, and eventually she's in real estate. And they adopted a little boy. We're gonna get to him more in season 2. But the little boy wasn't talking, wasn't communicating for a very long time. And Tench's wife said, "It's because you're not around. You're not around." Hey, let's talk about it all. We're talking about MindHunter season 1. Okay, going to talk about season 2 next week, which covers the Atlanta child unalivings. Okay, so Holden Ford, he starts off the first couple episodes as single, and then he has a girlfriend. She is teaching him a heck of a lot. Okay, horizontally and vertically. She's teaching him a heck of a lot. But it is also opening up his mind about, why are these criminals doing what are they doing? Can we work something up? And Wendy Carr, she is, of the Rainbow Coalition. Remember, this is 1977. This is not where everybody was, flying a proud pride flag. So Wendy Carr, Dr. Wendy Carr, has to keep that really quiet, and she has to keep that in Boston. When she moved to DC, she couldn't come with her lady, okay? She couldn't come with her lady. So she had to make the decision of leave her lady and tenure at Boston University, or be on the cutting edge of, basically what's going on with the FB and the I, okay? So MindHunter, they go and they talk to many of these, serial unalivers, and they start with Edmund Kemper, who is a huge guy, and he was known as the co-ed unaliver. Okay, so what I like about this is they gave us several different cases. They had us talk about the cases that these unalivers were in for. There was another one who he loved lady shoes and he loved dressing up like a lady, but he didn't want to be a lady. Okay. But it's because his mother forbid that. He was curious. His mother didn't wear it. He only saw it in magazines and whatnot. Then they were involved in actual cases of finding someone who was committing a crime. So they solved quite a couple of crimes, but I didn't even think it was behavioral stuff, but a lot of it is good detective work. Okay. But in the background was a case that's left unsolved in the first season. Okay. In the background, if you look at it, you kept on seeing Kansas City. You kept on seeing Kansas City. It's like, what is going in Kansas City in this time? Well, it was, the how can I say it? The BTK unaliver. Okay. It was Dennis Rader. Okay. He, was an ADT installer, and he would use that as a way to access people's homes. Okay. He used that to access their homes, and he would use that to do what he needed to do to unalive people. That is what he was doing. Okay. So in the midst of all this, we find there is one that's elusive. He hasn't even come up on their radar, and that's what this guy from Kansas City is. Okay. In the season 1, he does not come up on their radar. So from 74 to 91, 10 people. He targeted women, sometimes men, and sometimes children. Okay. But, he comes on their radar in season 2. Let me just put it that way. Okay. But he was active before the behavioral unit even started. Then we find out when they are going to talk to these serial unalivers, they're chatting to each other. They're talking to each other. And they are from Kemper to the others, they are telling each other, oh, when the F to the B to the I come around, this is what they'll do for you. This is what they want. Ask them for whatever you want out of commissary. Ask them for some pizza and some smokes. Ask them, they will give you what you want. And they find out that they are talking. Now, it's not till season 2 they find out how they are talking, and they get on that information superhighway. Okay. But definitely, y'all, because I love Criminal Minds is why I love MindHunter so much. So they're dealing with, though a lot of the crimes were against women. A lot of them, not all, a lot of the crimes were against women. Women were mainly the victim back in those days. Not saying men weren't. I'm just saying women were mainly the victim back in those days. And we're talking about 77 when the Bureau didn't allow their agents to even speak profanity. So some of the things that Ford, some of the words he would use, or some of the ways he would try to get close to them using profanity, the Bureau didn't like. The Bureau didn't like that at all, and he was reprimanded for it. And right now, fast forward from 77 to now, almost 50 years later, it's like, what's the Bureau acting like now? Okay? What's the Bureau acting like now? But I really liked, even though it was a slow pace, and for some people, a slow pace is not it, and for me, it's not. This was a very good slow pace. This slow pace actually took me on the journey at a very good pace, and then it sped it up, I think, in season 2. Okay? Yes, it is based on real life stories because they are based on real life unalivers. Okay? As I said, Kemper, the first one they talked to, he unalived 10 people. Okay? He unalived 10 different people. So yes, it was based on, it was based on actual people. Also, the FBI agents were based on actual people. Okay? That was the other thing with that. They were based on actual FBI agents, which were part of this book that was written called MindHunter. But yes, definitely, MindHunter was based on actual stories, real life stories. And I was trying to get the that part of it for you, but I guess they're not trying to do it. Okay. 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 I'm trying to find out exactly who the two FBI agents were based off of, but they're trying to give me the whole stuff from before. It was a musical as well. Um, it was done as a musical as well, but they're not showing me much of anything to tell me exactly where this all came from. But yes, Mindhunter is definitely based on serial unalivers. Hi, Cheryl Davis. And it's fascinating. Absolutely tune in for sure. Hey, it is fascinating considering the constraints that they have from back in the day. They were just starting with forensic evidence. They were just starting with fingerprinting and stuff like that. It was all a matter of you had to get somebody to confess. And sometimes when they got the information and they figured out who the person was, the district attorney then, the local district attorney, was not very helpful. They took the easy way out for a win and for a conviction rather than getting the right person off the street. Okay? So it is fascinating. And the reason why it really blew my mind was in second season when they dealt with the Atlanta child unalivers. If y'all knew, there was a serial unaliver that harmed the African American children in Atlanta back in the 70s and early 80s. And it's close to me because a close friend of mine, his brother, was one of the victims. And the way they handled it, it did not feel like they were using it for a story. The way Mindhunter handled it and used, I guess, the FBI notes and stuff, it showed how they caught the suspect that they caught. That was the first instance of an African American being considered a serial unaliver. Now that's season 2. We'll talk about that next week. But that's why also I kind of like Mindhunter kind of stuck with me. But the first season, they devised a way of tapping into all of these, the Sons of Sam, the all of those from the 70s that were incarcerated, they were, visiting them. They would travel in the country, visiting police departments, and thus visiting these serial unalivers to figure out, why were you like that? Many of them, they saw that it was a harsh relationship with their mom. Many of them, they realized it was a very harsh, very, very harsh relationship with the mom, either emasculating them, or they were showing no respect. They couldn't leave the home, or they just were, treated very, very terribly. DV with the mom, total DV with the mom. So definitely they focused on that. It was a lot of mommy issues with those early unalivers is what they focused on. And there was a family that how can I say it? A family was there was one victim found that they were working a current case, and the family is who committed the crime. This young man who you couldn't believe that the high school cheerleader would want to be with him. You couldn't believe she was, Marsha. She was a long, beautiful blonde hair, and everybody in the community loved her. She was a darling, and he was just, the Caucasian Urkel. And everybody's like, why would he marry her or be with her? And da da da. And it's like, wait a minute. And she ended up being someone who would frequent the bars, and she was, how can I say it? She was a little bit more promiscuous than people were led to believe. Thank You, Rejection is Protection. Holden Ford is based on the FBI agent, John E. Douglas, who started a criminal profiling program, as well as writing MindHunter. Tensions more loosely based on FBI agent Robert K. Ressler. Thank you. I know I saw that earlier, but I didn't clip it and keep it. But thank you, Rejection is Protection. So it's actual, yes, FBI agents, and those are their names there. But MindHunter takes you along, and you kind of learn while Holden Ford is learning. You kind of learn while he is going along, while Wendy Carr is going along. Those are the three, main characters. You learn, because as Holden makes a discovery, you make a discovery. And he's leading up to the next person he interviews, the next incarcerated unaliver he interviews. You realize, oh, did you ask about his mother? Did you ask, did he, was he mean to animals? Did you ask certain things? So then when he's presented with different things, like a school principal that tickles kids under their bare feet and gives them a nickel for it, his ears perk up. First he was like, oh, well, that's harmless. What? Tickling is harmless. And the principal is like, hey, I bring joy to these children's life. How dare you tell me how I can bring joy? But the parents don't want you touching their children. The school board don't want you touching these children. The teachers don't want you touching the children. But you have the children come to your office, take their socks off, and you would tickle under their feet and hand them a nickel. Okay. One teacher put it very mildly for Holden Ford and said, well, what if he asked them to take off more than their socks another time? What if he escalates the situation? And the parents even were like, we're asking for you not to touch our child. How hard is that? We don't want you, even if you think it's harmless, we don't want you touching our child. Can you respect that? And when they ask him to stop, the principal says no, he's not going to. And so the school board decided to fire him. His wife even finds out where Holden Ford lives and shows up at his apartment. Now, she just says, hey, you have, basically destroyed our lives. You have told the school board XYZ, and he's now fired. We used to be respected members of the community. Look what you did. And Holden Ford is like, ma'am, no, your husband did this by touching these people's children's feet. And then Ford's girlfriend does something I thought was absolutely wrong. She tries to invite the woman into the apartment. I was like, Ford, and I looked at her like, this woman is telling me off in the hallway. She done found where I live, and her husband was the subject of an investigation. And you go invite her into my apartment? Are you wild? Are you are you okay? Are you okay? Hey, cross country cruise her. We're talking about season 1 of MindHunter. We'll talk about season 2 next week. And then, of course, as the weeks go on, we will talk about another series or a movie. Something we will talk is called Reel It In. So I'm like, is she okay? His girlfriend was doing some real suspect stuff to me. I was like, she didn't process things too well, but I'm like, she's not an investigator. She's not in criminal stuff. She's in psychology. Okay. By the end of the season 1, they broke up. They broke up by the end of season 1, but she was very good for him as far as her psychology major, her sociology studies. It was really, really good for him. Okay. Really, really good for him that she opened his mind on behavior and patterns. Okay. I know, Ari. I know I have lots of thoughts on the girlfriend. I have lots of thoughts on the girlfriend. Rejection, protection. So do I. That girlfriend. Oh, deviant is partially a word for her. Okay. She was playing around. She was definitely playing around with Ford. Bill Tench, he's a quintessential workaholic, the workaholic investigator. He's at home doing a barbecue and the wife is like, mingle, talk to the other men. And then the other men want to know what he does. And when he says he talks to serial unalivers and he starts throwing out names, his wife is horrified. The other wife is horrified. Yet the men are like, tell us more. Tell us more. Come on, you got to talk. And the wives are not happy about it. But, we'll talk about that son that they adopted. Okay, that son that they adopted in season 2, okay, becomes a case study. I'll leave that there. Now, Wendy, Wendy is a force to be reckoned with. I like Wendy, but I think the disconnect with Wendy and Ford and Tench is that Wendy comes from investigation, from science and a lab. She does not come from investigation from a criminal aspect. Wendy Carr is phenomenal in getting what they're learning together in like a manual that can be taught everywhere. And that's probably where we are today. But she does not come from an investigative standpoint. So you'll see them kind of butting heads with her at first about how do we collect data? How do we collect, information investigation? How do we question subjects? So Wendy has a way that she wants to conduct things to be academic and to create validity. Now they get a couple of grants, nothing to sneeze at, six-figure grants. And that's what the FBI was like, but they got it because Wendy was running her mouth. And their supervisor, the FBI, was like, wait a minute, I was asking for money for you. And the people I was asking money from, they said they already know what's going on. What the heck, Wendy? Wendy got her hand smacked even though she got some money. And I really applauded Wendy for leaving her job, leaving her lady, and moving to DC to take on this work. Now, then they started recording, then they started transcribing, and then they started expanding their section in the basement. Because even though the Bureau got them what they needed, they're still in the basement. Okay, they're way, way in the basement. So that is basically like season 1. They are interviewing the serial unalivers. At least 4 of them, if I remember correctly, they did interview. There's one running around that they don't know about. And, Kemper is where they started in California. And by the end of the, season, he drew Holden all the way out to California to be able to see him. Hey, Unfiltered Doll Reactions. Glad to have you here. By the end of the season, the serial unaliver, the co-ed unaliver, they called him Demper. He drew Holden all the way out to California by making him his medical proxy and had Holden very vulnerable in the room with him. And with doing that, he had Holden in a very vulnerable position. Like he could have ended him in a second. And that brought on like panic attacks for Holden, and he disappeared for a while. Wendy is inspired by Ann Burgess, a forensic researcher who specialized in trauma and grape victims. She said that the series is pretty accurate. Yes, they did consult the FBI agents and, as you said, Dr. Ann Burgess for the characters to make them as authentic as possible. And yes, they have all said that this is very, very true to form for their character. Okay. So that's basically me breaking it down. Okay. If you want to come up and have a conversation, I just put the link, talk about MindHunter season 1. Next week is going to be season 2. As I said, the way they handle, I can't wait for that. The Atlanta serial unaliver of the kids, that case was done phenomenally on screen with MindHunter. I'm very upset. But y'all, I'm thinking about what I'm covering right now. It's October. It's horror season. I don't want too much horror, okay? I don't know how I was raised under horror. I was raised as a Vincent Price baby, okay? But I was just watching Alien Earth, the series. I'm very frustrated. There's some parts I like as an Alien absolute fan. And there's some parts that I just want to throw a brick at my TV. And I said, because of those polarizing views, I think next after we do MindHunter, we may have to do, if y'all are with me, we may have to do Alien. We may have to do that because I got some things to say to the people about what they did to this franchise. I could see where they wanted to go, but they didn't quite make it. Yeah, you heard it was trash, but it ain't all trash. It was some interesting things, but they just fell short of the mark. So let's see. I want to try and stick with this MindHunter thing, and I want to do at least, one horror here and there, and maybe a comedy horror here or there. Okay. Oh, Motan Vesta said she enjoyed Alien Earth. Okay. We have one winner. Hold on, Ari. Let me get rid of this overlay, and then I can put us together. There we go. Hey, Ari.
Okay. Hello. I didn't even notice you put me up until you said that. I was like, okay, I'll wait. I can wait.
Right. I was just saying that. Y'all, please make sure y'all have liked the live. Just take a moment, take a breather. Make sure you hit like and make sure you subscribe. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers. Oh, Cheryl, I am a slasher movie fan too. We could do one. We could definitely do one.
Sam was afraid of The Exorcist, so we can't do The Exorcist,
Okay, we
unfortunately.
can't do The Exorcist. That's okay. That's okay. I just need to know the parameters of the audience. But Cheryl, we could talk. Okay.
I mean, The Exorcist is not my favorite movie, but favorite horror movie. But I'll talk about it. It's not my favorite, but I'm just putting that out there.
Ain't nothing, wigs me out. I've been, as I said, I've been raised from Vincent Price on out. And yes, the slasher movies, yes, I've been raised. All that stuff. We can do Psycho. Bates, I mean, Cheryl, we could talk, girl. Give me one of your faves, Cheryl, and I'll add that to the list. Maybe, what's the week of Halloween looking like?
Halloween's on a Friday.
Halloween's on a Friday. So how about this? That week leading up to Halloween to the Friday, how about that? We'll look and see how many. If we could do 2 instead of 1 of these reel it ins that week. But we could talk, y'all. Y'all definitely put it in the chat. Okay, well, let's do a movie, not a whole series, but let's do a movie. Okay. So Ari, let's talk MindHunter. You said you had lots to say about Holden's girlfriend.
Well, I mean, I would kind of want to give my like general thoughts a little bit. I liked it. I would still prefer like the first like 12 seasons of Criminal Minds personally, because that's what I started with, and that's what I really love is that those seasons particularly. I mean, Kunmans went the first part, the essential series, first 15 seasons, and then they kind of did seasons 16, 17, 18 recently, the last few years, but the first 12 of this main season from Kunmans was my favorite. And so I do like the fact that we are seeing how it is kind of
The theory
forming.
started.
Yeah, how it was forming and all that.
Had you seen MindHunter before this?
I feel like I have. I started it and then I think I have. I just don't quite remember if I did for sure.
Okay, yeah, it's been a while.
Because I feel like I watched like at least the first couple episodes. Because it seemed familiar, but I can't say with 100% certainty that I did.
Okay,
But
it was 2017, so I understand it's been a while.
Yeah. For the most part, I'm gonna transition into like the characters specifically here. Bill Tench was probably the most stable of the characters for me. And he was the most he because I've seen him in I can't remember the actor's name, but I've seen him in the other things. Like he's one of those kind of people who's just been in like several different things, and it's just that you never really remember his name. So that's kind of me. But I think he's a solid actor, and I think he did a very an amazing job here. He did what he needed to do. He showed up, did what he had to do, and all that stuff. So I think he was, to me, the best character out of the show so far.
Hold on one second. Rejection is protection. I do see you back there, but it's telling me your devices are not connected. So it says you need to connect your mic or your camera before I can add you. So if you want to, I guess, work on your mic, if you want to leave and come back.
Your computer might be muted. Sorry.
Right. If you're on the computer, as Ari always says, your computer might be muted. But I do see you, but it's telling me your sound is not connected. If you can hear me, rejection is protection. Okay. Hold on. We have our lovely Sam here.
Hey, Sam.
Hi, everybody.
Rejection, you may want to leave, exit out if you're on a computer, and come back and make sure that you're not muted. Your computer isn't muted.
Just to answer your question, Sam, in the chat, I was going to type it, but Criminal Minds is it's a lot more fictionalized rather than this. So just to
Okay, thank you.
But it's like Law and Order. It pulls pieces of something out of a headline. Criminal Minds definitely does.
I was just about to say that, but yeah.
Okay. For real life inspired kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Got
it. Bill Tench is played by Holt McCallany, and Holden Ford is played by Jonathan Goroff, and Wendy Carr is played by Anna Torv.
I remember Anna Torv from. I remember her from. I can't remember the name, but it was a science fiction show.
Fringe.
Yeah, Fringe. Thank you. I was blanking on the name, but I remember her from that because I watched it back in the day.
Yes, I did too. I love her. You know, I used to confuse her with oh gosh,
Kate Blanchett.
No,
I kind of confused her for a second, but then I was like, wait, that's not her.
No, it wasn't Kate Blanchett. I was more looking at Charlize Theron for a while. She did a few things.
Okay.
That reminded me of Charlize. Sam, had you seen this, or have you seen this yet?
No, I haven't. I'm just up here just to be nosy, but no, I haven't seen it.
We love nosy.
I just wanted to be here and kiki with the girls, but no, I haven't. I haven't seen it yet. But I'm glad that I tuned into your recap because now I'm so fascinated to see it. And what I like about, because I remember what you were saying about in Atlanta, when unfortunately there were all of those situations. And well, I'm saying situations because I don't want to say the real word, so I'm not minimizing the victims. Please don't think. So, and I remember seeing documentaries here and there, but there was never the deep dive that it sounds like this series is. So, and it sounds like what you're saying, the series is really paying homage or homage and taking it seriously. And really, so I'm really, because you never know sometimes.
Yes, it can be touchy and dicey. And I was side-eyeing them because I liked the first season. And when they decided to, what happens, Sam, is they are hiring for new FBI agents and expanding their division. And there was an African-American applicant from Atlanta. And they refused him because they said most of the unalivers that they are interviewing are, of the Jim Crow era. And they will not speak to him. So they cannot hire him because he will not be effective. So in the second season, he reaches out to them because 3 children end up missing. And, though I hate to say it, we were not a priority. It's African-American children. We were not a priority. There was another case that brought them close to Atlanta, and then they took it up. But how they figured out who it was very simple, yet effective.
Oh, wow.
And that scene alone I was like, daggone it. Sometimes it's the simplest, thing that you do, or the simplest explanation that is profound. And what Holden Ford did to prove his point that, his markup of the unsub or unidentified subject, it was profound. So it changed the course of the investigation and who were they looking for that did this.
Oh, wow.
While kids were disappearing. So,
Oh, I'm really interested then, because it sounds like if this was only kind of goes back to the 70s, you still have these families that to this day are here.
Yes. One of my friends, I tell you, his brother was one of them.
That's right. So they've got to be doing this right, because, for them to be in season 2, it sounds like, you and I would know better than anyone who's seen it, but it sounds like they've really done it justice, because you have families and friends that are still here that can have a thing or two to say if this isn't done with respect. Even if it's based upon real things, you still have to have a sensitive way in which you go about telling things that unfortunately can just unearth all of those emotions all over again, because grief never disappears. So thank you for doing this. I'm really looking forward. A real quick question. Can you tell me how many episodes a season is this?
It is 10 episodes for the first season and 9 for the second season.
Okay, great.
And unfortunately, the series was canceled by Netflix. They said it was niche.
Oh.
They said it was niche. I'm glad you're in, The Duchess. Second season is next week. We'll talk about it. And I can, it's always the good ones that get tossed away.
Oh, you can say
it's always the great ones that get tossed away, because on the onset, it's not a whole lot of hype. It's not a whole lot of people looking at it, because it's also slow moving. When it was released was in the summertime. So people aren't really looking for this kind of show in the summer.
Okay.
Thank you for supporting Rosho. Drive safely. It's not really the time for people to want to dive into a new series kind of thing. The first season was in October. The second season was in August. People are out having fun in the summer. It just didn't find its legs until like spring the next year. And by then they had committed to the second season. And then by then they would stop because it wasn't enough people.
I see. Okay.
But it's still there. That's why I'm like, let me grab it while it's still here. That's why I was looking at Alien Earth and I was like, let me see if I could grab this and see if we could do this one too and talking about it. But I want to do just either a season of a series, but each week we go and talk about something, either a movie or a season of a show. But not too many seasons. We don't want to get boggled down.
Okay.
But this has just 2 seasons, and I thought it was fascinating. We know Criminal Minds, we know all those seasons, but where did it start?
Right.
But Ari, you had more to say. I can't wait to hear what you say about Ford's girlfriend.
Well, let me get to Holden first. Oh, he is just so green. I'm like, baby, you. I mean, I think he just had a lot to learn, and he was just so eager, like a puppy dog. Unfortunately, to kind of put a comparison to it.
Y'all, he
So
had a lot to learn in the FBI and between the sheets. Holden had a lot of learning he was doing in this series.
one thing you're gonna do is gonna bring it all right back to Smix.
Hey, they're going to see it. I don't want anyone shocked and saying I did not warn them.
That is true.
That he was getting clear instructions to go left and right by his girlfriend. Okay.
I mean, I gotta commend the guy though. He was putting in the work. So
yeah, he was. He was an eager beaver.
like a puppy. Like I'm sounding like a puppy. Just eager to please. Eager to please. But yeah, more in the context of like
work.
Yeah, work. He was just so green, and I was more neutral on him for the most part. I did love him when he checked his girlfriend though on that porch. I was like, you better go. You better go. Oh, I was so happy because I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, and then with Wendy Carr. Yes, thank you. I was just about to say what was her first name again. I couldn't remember, but yes, Wendy Carr. Her intentions are pure, but like Tench and Ford tried to tell her, you can't really go by the questions that you had written down, because that's more of the academic way to do it, and that's not, you can't really do that because they're gonna, because like Criminal Minds had said several times, or at least once in the entire series, criminals are profilers too, and they will see right through you when you try to do stuff in a certain way.
They're
And
hunters. They kept saying
yes,
they are hunters themselves.
exactly, and you have to adapt to specifically how they hunted. So trying to question in um, such a cold and clinical way won't work, unfortunately, with them, because like I said, their profiles just don't get paid to do it. I mean, unless you're like the season 16 uh criminal in Criminal Minds. I won't say who that was, and what, because if y'all haven't watched, I'm not going to go too much into it. But if you watch that season, you know what I mean. And so, yeah, you can't. I mean, so unless you're getting paid to do the unalivings, they don't get paid to do it. They just do it because they want to do it. They love to do it, which is such a sad way to say it, but it is. So she was kind of pissing me off with her holier than thou stance. I was like, I mean, I loved her.
But that's sometimes people in academia. I have to say it. Sometimes. Because they are teaching the masses.
I get it, but she doesn't get that she's not teaching. That's the problem. You're not teaching. You're trying to get into the mind of the people who are doing these crimes. And you can't do that by looking at it from a teaching sense. That's just something she wasn't, or I should say refusing to learn, is that you got to go with the flow here, like in this sort of instance. So, I mean, she was a little pissing me off here and there. I mean, right intentions, but wrong way to say it. Just
right. Right. You're no longer in academia. You're no longer in Boston. For me, I thought she would understand better. I thought the character development, since she was, of the, Rainbow Coalition, I thought since many of these serial unalivers that they were talking to were also hiding pieces of themselves, I was like, yes, Wendy, you could have a connection with them, that they are living half lives like you are living a half life now. And we didn't play much into that.
Yeah, and you know what? I think what probably would have helped her with understanding that you have to go with the flow in the questioning and not be so cut and dry with it is that if they had her go out and talk with these serial unalivers more often, because I feel like I've seen her do it like once or twice, but she wasn't actively out there, and so like that, like Bill and Holden were, and so
Right.
that would have helped her realize that you kind of like, because she knows how these people can lie.
Right.
So seeing that up front and what would have helped her realize that you can't just, I mean, it probably would have worked maybe with like the common criminal, maybe like that
True.
doesn't do this type of crime, but unfortunately with these type of people, you gotta, you can't just be so cut and dry with it. But that's
Now remember, this was also the 70s. Wendy is also dealing with people in the South who also think her lifestyle is deviant behavior. So she also has to like hide that part of herself. And I really thought there was a scene where I really thought when she went out for drinks with Holden and his girlfriend, I thought the girlfriend, when she pulled back and looked at her, I thought she clocked her.
she could have.
She could have, and I was waiting for that moment. It's like, yeah, Wendy ain't gonna be dating nobody. I was waiting for that. They were hiring, Wendy was one of the few ladies that they hired, but the women were not in the FBI, were only clerical situations. They were not in the field because they felt like they should not be subjected to this kind of criminal element and behavior. So they were the secretaries, they were the operators, they were, the travel agents, but they were not in the field detectives. Because we didn't even see the police officers had females on staff, at least where they went.
Yeah.
But they certainly build us up for the second season too, because we see as we're learning about these serial unalivers, we're realizing that Tench's adopted son is showing signs of this behavior at 8 and 9.
Oh, I was gonna say that he seemed like he was on the spectrum. To me, I was gonna mention that.
He seemed like he was on the spectrum, definitely. And then when he started taking the photos of the crime scenes and keeping it in his room under his bed, and I was like, ooh, yeah. And he wouldn't talk to the other kids. He wasn't talking. Yes, he was nonverbal, whatever, but he was doing other things that I guess they mentioned in season 2. But remember, Wendy was employed to provide structure and more credibility. It's not her strength to go explain things on the ground. Right. It was not her strength. And when she had to go, she had to go tussle with a district attorney because they were warping the information. She had to learn in real time at that moment. She's like, wait a minute. How does my research help you in the courtroom? That's where she had to kind of like bring it to the ground level. Okay, we're doing all this top level research. We're going to put it out there in the field. It'll help the officers, but how does it help the district attorneys with the jury in their convictions?
And I do get that she's not meant to be on the ground. It's just that it would have benefited her if she was, though, because I mean, she doesn't even have to be in the interrogation room. She could just be there observing and then learn, so that way she can help cater the questions better. So it's not like she has to do the questioning. She just can just listen and cater it, because like I know
Again,
I'm going to
remember,
wear this out.
it's an all male, jail. All the warden, all the officers are male. Her being there,
Well, I
will
mean,
incite something else.
well, then she had to just listen to the recordings because
Right.
that's
That's
the
why
only thing that
Holden said, let's videotape it.
is. I mean, you can't just, like I said, you can't just put not like cold clinical wording in there and then expect to get results because like, I, I, I
I
mean,
understand. I'm with you.
just I mean,
I understand. I'm with you. But yes, so the DA and her research were at odds with each other. They have different goals, and it's about aligning to yes. Dr. Wendy's car research is to basically figure out what's going on in the mind of that unaliver, and the DA is get them locked up and the unaliving penalty. Sam?
When you guys mentioned earlier that there was this African American gentleman who wanted to be on the team,
Mm-hmm.
and they just didn't feel he was a good fit for the population that he'd be questioning. Did it feel like that was the real reason, or did it feel racist in some way? Or
That's what they said, that the serial unalivers, they were racist. So they couldn't put him there to draw them out because they wouldn't speak to him.
I got it. Okay.
But it all changed because remember the MO of or the typical unaliver at the time were white male. So he couldn't even go into an area and question that community and show any level of deference or respect. That's why the Atlanta child unaliving case changed it, because that was your first African American unaliver at the time.
Got it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, Ari, continue. I'm curious. I'm curious of you and rejection is protection. What you got to say about this girlfriend?
Okay, so I didn't hate her at first. I'm gonna preface that I didn't hate her at first. I actually liked her. And I was rooting for Miss Ma'am because she was trying to get her education and at the time, still and women were frowned upon were getting their education. So I was rooting for Miss Ma'am. I was rooting for her so bad. And then it got to that PDF file principal. And I'll put
Yes.
PDF file because I don't want to say the actual name.
Yep.
Then it got to that, and the wife came to Holden's place. And then she's like, she tells Holden, "What did you do?" Like, ma'am, you ain't gonna ask him what this was all about in the first place. You just gonna assume that he did something bad. Okay, that made me want to slide into the freaking screen and slap her silly. Because I was like, girl, I know you lying. You just gonna assume that he did something bad just because you're hearing the wife and her play. The wife, obviously, in my opinion, was so unawares and believed everything her husband was doing because she was married to him for like 20 plus years at that point. I think it was like 27 years or something like that. I don't remember specifically, but they were married for dang near 30 years and she has kids with this man. So I get it. You don't want to believe that he can do something so foul.
But even if you didn't believe him having the kids take off their socks and get tickled for a nickel, okay? Even if you didn't believe that was, terrible. Parents are asking you not to touch their children and you're telling them no. Parents are telling you, don't tickle my child. And you're like, this is how I run my school. Excuse me? Excuse me. It's uncomfortable. And as one of the teachers said, what if the child is uncomfortable with it? They don't feel like they can speak up because he's in a position of authority. And then some kids may do something in order to get caught, to endure a tickle for a nickel so they could go down to the store and buy what they wanted. As Ford walked up, and he shouldn't have, he just, because the other guy, they hired somebody, Sam, that was a mole for the director, that was telling them everything that was going on, and he completely was foul. When the team decided to band together to keep something quiet, he went and let internal affairs know everything. I wanted to fire him myself. He was like, we could just tell him what to do. We the FBI. And Ford took that, and Ford walked up in there and said, principal, you need to stop. I am advising you just like you advised me. I'm advising you to stop. And the principal's like, no, this is my school. I'm going to do what I want. The parents are asking you to stop touching their children.
I can already tell this is going to make my blood boil, because insidious things, I can already, I'm glad I'm getting braced up for it, because when you think about how insidious things like this are, like you said, there's multiple scenarios where a child may not feel comfortable, but may not feel like they can say no, still don't like it, but you want the nickel. And I know this probably doesn't go into this or not, but you wonder if that type of behavior becomes the beginnings of something inside that child that falls in alignment with the very show you're watching.
Right.
Where does that lead, and where does that go? I mean, there's no way to know that. And so I can already tell, okay, I'm bracing myself, because I can already tell I'm going to get hypedy hyped as I watch, because.
Well, I think that's why the slow moving of the show helps, because if it was really fast, I would be really hyped, but it kind of eases you into it, because some of the characters, they're saying something, but their behavior sounds different. Like, you see the mom and dad sitting on the couch talking about, the situation, and they don't always agree, but then some things they agree to. And it's that kind of slow pace and that kind of change up, because the dad sees nothing wrong with tickling. Tickling is innocent. Mom is like, no, I don't tickle my 10-year-old child. And then, mom is like, and they're paying them, and dad is like, yeah, that ain't right, you're paying them. But, boys will be boys. And you see the dynamic of a husband and wife, but at the end, they kind of like agree, I don't want you touching my child.
Right.
And I don't want you paying for the privilege. They understand it's an icky part of it. They just want it to stop. You don't need to be fired, but they want it to stop.
Right. And in the 70s, I don't think the term then of grooming was part of the vocabulary.
No.
Today we understand, we would call that part of the grooming process, right?
Right. Because he's making them take their socks off and present their bare feet.
Yeah, priming the pump.
At the same time, they are talking to a serial unaliver that collected women's shoes. So that is what's going through Ford's mind. Like, either he's starting somebody up, or he's one of those.
Right.
Yeah, wow. I was going to say that.
We can hardly hear you, Ari.
Oh, sorry. I'm in the kitchen. But I was gonna say that the principal's behavior is basically like how PDF files start doing stuff, because like Sam said, I forgot the word grooming myself, but that's the best description, is that it starts off with little things with those types of criminals. It starts off with little things, and it gradually gets there. It's the same way with DV, is that it doesn't start off with the physical aspect of it. It starts off small with like isolation and being verbally abusive and stuff like that. It doesn't start off with like the most overt things. It starts off with the small things, and that's what I got from that. And it's unfortunate that the wife was just unwilling to see it, especially given the time. So but
she was more concerned with their standing in the community, and he couldn't find a job now because the school board fired him, and they have a kid in high school, so they can't really leave right now. So her thing is folks who were once our friends are no longer speaking to us. So they're basically shunned.
Yep. And yeah, but
So,
going back to that raggedy girlfriend though for a
Ooh!
quick second.
Ooh!
I was gonna call it worse, but you know, I'm just gonna keep
Debbie.
it raggedy.
Why is it always a Debbie? Uncle Fester had a problem with a Debbie. Go ahead.
That is so true. at least Holden doesn't look like an Uncle Fester, so that's a plus.
If we are ever doing an Addams Family, we have to do the movie with Debbie.
Yes, but I would have. I mean, I just didn't like the fact that she didn't even ask what happened. She just assumed that he was guilty because I think this is the start of like what, third or fourth wave feminism around this time, or it's like in full swing or something. I don't know for sure, but
because it was the 70s.
Yeah, and so she's just assuming that he's guilty of doing something wrong when she doesn't know all the facts. And you're over here claiming that men need to be more attuned or so. Again, I'm not sure what the right phrasing is, but like basically they need to be more willing to change and be better, but you're over here acting like how men tend to be when they don't believe women victims.
It's a second wave of feminism.
Okay. Second wave.
It addresses the smexism, smexuality, and reproductive rights.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for looking that up. But yeah, so she's, in my opinion, being no better than how men tend to be, even still to this day. Like, like,
right.
So
rejections projections say is being fired the stressor that might make the ex-headmaster escalate now. It could. Mm-hmm. And because he no longer has access to his victims is also a stressor. I mean, it's a major stressor. They say that, a breakup, because you could say that, Holden Ford, his breakup with his girlfriend could be a stressor if he was, in that regard. But yeah, the girlfriend, I always side-eyed her from the moment they met. I thought she was a lady of the evening. So she just rolled up next to him on a bar and was just looking at him.
That's really what I refrained from calling her not a lady of the night, but something similar without the payment. But
I thought she was there to pick up a John. I'm sorry. It's the way she moved, and you look at the scene. She just slid up to him. His friend left, and she just slid up next to him. It's kind of like, "Hey, sailor, you want to buy me a drink?" kind of thing. I was like, "Is this a setup?"
Dang, you thought she was setting him up. Okay.
I really thought so. And then she's here to see the band. The band is playing, and she's just standing against the pillar, not even rocking to the music. I said, "Girl, who are you lying to?" But turns out she's for real, but she's just sarcastic.
And I think that's why I liked her at first, because she was sarcastic, and I don't like being sarcastic. So I'm like, but then after she was like, "What did you do, Holden?" After the principal's wife came up to them, she started picking fights with him. And that was, I think that whole thing, because she wouldn't even allow him to explain what was going on. She was picking fights with him. And that's what caused them to break up, because she was being a dummy. So
also, I think she wanted to break up with him. They were going along really well until he started, it was the case of he start having to travel all over the country. He is gone more than he is home. So it's true. Like, I'm in a relationship with someone who is never there. But then when he's there, you want him to be quiet because you need time to study. So it's like you were pulling away from him before. Rejections Protection said, the girlfriend isn't a real character for me. She's more of a cipher, a mirror. You can see how she broadens Holden's outlook and knowledge, but you also see his character development as well. I could see that. She's kind of broadening his vision. She did teach him a lot, and being exposed to her taught him a lot. I'm sorry, Sam. It looked like you were going to ask something.
Yeah, I was going to follow up. I think Rejection might have covered it. I was going to say, does she feel, is she a necessary piece in that, or okay.
She's necessary because I think for us, she's necessary for us because we're learning along with Holden Ford. We're learning along with this green FBI agent, but she's pulling him along in the studies. She is pulling him along so we could kind of attest that his epiphany either came from her or something associated with her, which is education. So he goes to the school, he's around the students, he's supposed to be recruiting students for the FBI. But when she's like, well, what about this? What if, if we go along with the Freudian thought of da 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 da, and you could kind of like, she verbally tells us what he's learning, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So has a point and a purpose. Okay.
She does have a point and a purpose. And you're like, okay, this relationship is going somewhere. You could see the profiler, being with someone who's a sociologist or psychologist. Okay, this will work. Is she going to join the FBI, or is she in the feminist movement? You kind of like, where's this relationship going? She's like, meet my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he's like, okay, let's go meet your mother, she kind of pumps the brakes. It's like,
oh, okay.
What are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing here? But yeah, I think he was more gone than he was there. She was tired of him.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Was that too much?
Well, no, I think it's just, I think you might be a tiny bit right with that. Like, because I think that's what it put a strain on Tench and his wife.
Yes.
I mean, I think they're still solid from what I saw, but it's just I don't know. I think she just put 20 on 10 with the whole principal's wife thing. And
it came home. It came home. It's one thing to talk about people when they're in a file, and it's another thing to come face to face with them, Ari. Ari, you're muted. Okay, Ari's still muted. Yeah, I think that's what kind of tipped it over the edge for his girlfriend. It's like this, you actually see who's affected, and you see it affected them. And, some people just can't be disassociated from that. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm giving him these theories. We're talking about this. We're talking about these hypothetical people, but then you realize the crash and burn. And it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to jump from this is theory to it actually affecting somebody's life, because it's hard for you to come back and say, oh, he went and talked to these unalivers and they say this, this, and this. And it's different if you actually see and in the room with the unaliver, and know that and hear them in their own words. So, but it's pretty good, I find it interesting that the certain states, they picked California, Georgia. They were coming back and forth to Georgia, man. Like
didn't they go to Seattle too?
They went to Oregon State Penitentiary, Illinois, Deersville, Georgia. I don't think it was Seattle. Was it Seattle?
So you're saying the agents are traveling across
all over
for these cases. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Altoona, Pennsylvania, of course, Boston. It was California. They met Kemper. Yeah. Pennsylvania. Yeah. I don't see Seattle. But they wanted to go. I think it was Oregon, but they wanted to go to Seattle to meet.
Oh, it's Salem, Oregon. I mixed up the S's. Sorry.
Okay. They wanted to go meet Charles Manson. That was on their wish list. They wanted Manson, and they wanted some Son of Sam. They wanted him on their wish list. But in the second season, y'all, you find out how the serial unalivers were talking to each other. This ain't no internet. This ain't letters. Letters in the mail.
It could be letters of some kind, like a cipher.
Yeah, they were sending each other messages, and one of the serial unalivers who was incarcerated was also advising someone out there who was doing the same thing, who hadn't even reached their radar. So while this is going on, Sam, while they're solving these crimes in these small towns, while they're talking to these serial unalivers, there's one called the BTK, who unalived, 10 people, being an ADT, provider and installer. He's a pen pal with one of the serial unalivers, and he's helping him kind of stay ahead of the authorities. Yeah.
So
yeah. Think about it, Sam. Back in those days, how would you send a message?
Yes, it would have been the pen pal system. It would have been the whole, because that's how women would meet guys and get married, and it would start off with the pen pal situation, because you'd wonder, how did these Menendez brothers go on to be married men? Because it's, please, is there any part, okay, this is the last thing I'm asking. I just need to watch it instead of asking all these questions. While we're watching it, is there any part that you feel that they have, how sometimes with a series, it's 95% real, but then there's that 5% that you kind of, for the sake of making it interesting to watch, so to speak, you kind of put 20 on 10 a little bit. So is there a chance that they really weren't speaking to each other, or is it for real that, there were pen pals, they were giving each other advice?
They were pen pals. You will find real life evidence that these men were pen pals.
They're talking. Oh,
yes.
Wow.
They were talking, and I ain't gonna bust your bubble as to how they were talking.
Okay, no.
But you got to think about the time. We ain't got no internet.
Right.
We got is telegrams. We barely had fax machines. The FBI had a fax machine. Everybody did. So
wow.
They were able to get messages inside and outside of incarceration, and they were able to communicate. So yeah, evidence of that. Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay, I'm watching tonight. I can't. It's 4:19 Vegas time. I can't wait to.
Well, y'all, second season. We're going to cover the second season next week. And as y'all bringing up all these things, one of my favorites is Silence of the Lambs. I love, Hannibal Lecter is certainly one for the books. I don't know if I'll cover that, but this is, October. So we may go along with this kind of genre. And then the week of Halloween, for Cheryl's viewing pleasure, Cheryl's a day oneer. We might do the slasher films the week of Halloween. Okay. But at least every week we will cover at least one. And I gotta get in my Pulp Fiction, because I gotta have my favorite movie quotes. A big kahuna burger. You gotta get your nice comedy ones, and that'll be after the fact in like November and stuff. We may do soul food, but y'all please put in the comment section after you hit that like any of the movies that you would like us to come up and talk about, because we have our unsolicited advice, we have our unscripted. We do have our Love is Blind coming up, and that's about to tear off. We have our member lives every Monday, Clutching Our Pearls. So this is just something where we talk about, cleansing the palate about something else other than these dating shows. Okay. Ladies, any, is it a Tuesday movie review feature? Well, that's why I call it, Reel It In. That's why it's called REEL, Reel It In. Whatever kind of reel it is it a movie? Is it a series? We're going to reel it in over here. Ladies, anything else you want to say for us to wrap up this week, season 1 of MindHunter, and cover season 2 next week?
I would just say thank you for bringing it up. Thank you for letting me be nosy and bring my big head up on the screen. And I'm just looking forward to I'm just looking forward to watching. I love this feature. So I'm sorry I'm late to the party. I know this has probably been, I think I've been so nosedive into Love is Blinds. I don't know how I missed this because this is great. So
hey, it's awesome. It's fine. It's totally fine. That's why we bring different things. Y'all tell me what to watch and I tell you what to watch.
As long as it's not The Exorcist, count me in.
Ari, because we can talk about it all next week, Ari.
Right, and see, I love because most of my TV shows tend to be actually crime procedurals anyway, so I love the crime procedural. So, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't actually take notes, so I can't really think of anything at the moment. But as far as the actual show goes, but I might take some notes depending on I mean, it's only 9 episodes, so I mean, I'll try to see if I can think of something to kind of write down. But I didn't actually write any notes, but I think it's because these episodes tend to stick in my mind better.
Yes.
So
yes. Yeah. Yes. Cheryl is with you, Sam. She is not a fan of The Exorcist either. Okay, we'll do slasher, but we ain't gonna do gore. Well, we ain't gonna do, that's the other thing. As y'all say Exorcist, I try to stay away from those with religious themes because many people, it is very, polarizing. And The Exorcist definitely has a huge religious theme. So we're gonna try and stay away from that. Now, for y'all, other than Project Runway, one of the top series that I covered that people absolutely adore, it's not a religious theme, but it does have religious references in it, was Grotesquerie with Niecy Nash and Courtney Vance. If you do you don't see the perpetrator doing stuff, but you do see them, the design of their crime scene. So Grotesquerie is something that I certainly, if you want to go back, no, it's not horror only. It's not horror only. We're just going to stick to this Criminal Minds and horror just for October, just for these last 2 weeks because it is Halloween month, but it is not. It is any genre. We're going to do comedy too, okay? If we got to go back and pull out and get Ari to watch it, we will watch Revenge of the Nerds if we have to, okay? Lambda. Okay? This is any I know I'm dating myself. This is any movie, okay? We will go back or we will do a current movie right now. As I said, I'm also looking at this Alien Earth. And we're going to fit that in. If not this month, we could fit it in November or whatever. But no, it's not horror only. It's just going to be like Criminal Minded and maybe horror just for the week of Halloween. I may do 2 shows the week of Halloween and just do 2 horrors or maybe 2 horror series. Maybe we talk about, Friday the 13th versus, Nightmare on Elm Street. And we kind of dive into something like that. And it'll be for the week of Halloween. So we could tweak it a little bit and talk about it that week. But no, it's definitely not horror only. Any genre, any movie. And we got to talk about, I did, Boomerang. That certainly ain't, like that. So y'all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Ari. Thank you, Sam, for being curious. And as I said, please hit that like and make sure you put in the comments below whatever movie you would like us to cover and reel it in this segment on LCID 932. I'll see you on the next one.